talk a little bit about REST concepts. So REST concepts, if anybody worked on web development, then it is actually very easy to understand the REST concepts, but otherwise also fine. REST concepts works based on the URL. You take any URL, right? This is one URL. In this URL, what you see, the first portion we call this is host. That is actually host name, or the server name, where this is like, no, that web application is running. There's basically a web application indirectly. After that, /, there is a question mark here. After question mark, there is a parameter equals to some value. Ampersand means it's starting one more parameter equals to another value. This whole thing is value up to next ampersand. Okay. This is a big thing. Wherever there is another ampersand, there is one more parameter name and then the value for that one. So basically the URL is structured like that. One URL will be having HTTP or HTTPS, host name, and question mark, param1 equals to value, ampersand, param2 equals to value. Like that, you can have multiple parameters. Okay, why I'm explaining, you'll understand. In case of REST concepts, by the way, after host name, it's also possible that before question mark, okay, I will show that. Let's say I open this one, quickly check it. Okay, it's not doing that. Let me open any other. For example, I open, yeah, in this case, you see, this is host name. After that, it's not starting directly question mark, right? You are having something up to here. This is a part of the URL. Then it is starting the question mark. That this is called your relative path after, like, no, I mean, you can treat that as some additional path in the URL. This whole thing is your kind of host plus the URL, the base URL or the URL before your parameters. So you can have host name followed by some additional path also possible in the URL. And then you can have the question mark. This is not mandatory additional path. Okay. Now, REST, when you are defining a REST service, you have to first choose what is the method type. So method type will be, I told you, like, no, get, put, post. Let's start with get. In case of get, think like you are creating one operation, right? It's all these words are, you can use interchangeably. Like you are saying operation, sometimes you call method, sometimes you call function, right? What else you called? Yeah, like procedure in case of, like, no, PL/SQL, we also use procedure. But all are like basically you are defining some function, some method, some operation. In different technologies, you use different terminology. In case of web services, usually use either operation or method. Okay, in case of REST, you always use method. In case of SOAP, usually you use operation. So method type is get. So get operation or get method supports input query parameters. Okay. Also, there is something called path parameters. Also, this is called template parameters. I'll explain this concept later. For now, only stick to query parameters. How many query parameters? It can be 0 or many parameters possible in case of get. In case of get payload or request payload is not supported. Response payload is possible, or response you can say structure is possible. What kind of response you can have? You can have JSON, you can have XML, you can have CSV, you can have any text, all those things are possible. But request payload is not possible. That means you cannot take like XML, JSON, CSV text, those things not possible. You can only take the query parameters, that is 0 or many. So the query parameters will be like this one. Question mark, param1, value 1, param2, value, like that you can support. These are called query parameters, by the way, also request parameters. Okay. What, when do you use get? Usually get is used for sending like 0 or multiple input params or request params and expecting some response structure, nothing but some response object. It could be array, it could be collection, it could be simple. Okay. Now in case of, if you want to get like one object, let's say get employee or get invoice details, get supplier details. So whenever you want to get one, in those cases, we'll be having the query parameter. What is that you want to get? So you need to provide that input for that specific like operation or for that method. If you want to get everything, let's say I want to get all the employees or I want to get all the suppliers. In those cases, you can have a 0 parameter. So don't send anything. So that method internally is going to write the logic in such a way that if I don't get anything, I'm going to send everything. Or you may be creating two different methods, one for get all, one for get specific object. So all these things are possible. Okay, before you use this one, there is something called relative, okay, base URL and relative resource URL. These are the common for everything. These are the common for everything. So you will be having a base URL like this one. And this is additional path at the end. At the end, you will define one extra path that is called relative resource URL. Relative resource path. Okay. And then the query. This is a common for all the methods. And what I'm explaining here is specific to the method type. Now let's take the next method. Next method is post. Post is usually used for creating one or multiple records. This one is not mandatory exactly what we are doing. This is only a guideline. The basically what is supported. Okay, in this case, output is response structure. Let us put that way. Now copy this. In case of post, what is possible? Input, query parameters, path parameters, 0 or many possible. Request payload is supported, and that can be JSON, XML, CSV text, or anything for that. And the output would be again response structure possible. Usually you are expecting in these cases, you are creating one or multiple records in the system, but that does not mean you have to create. You are basically, wherever there is a requirement for sending like some request payload, you are going to go for the post. This is like your create. If somebody coming from your, in case of, if you want to compare this with PL SQL, you are having CRUD operations, right? Create, read, update, and delete. So this is read, and this is your create. Next method, you are having put and patch. For now, don't worry too much about the difference. In this case, you are basically using this for updating one or multiple records. One or multiple records. Rest all, everything is supported exactly same like your post. You can take query parameter, but usually in this case, query parameter is usually optional. In this case, this becomes usually mandatory. Why? Because in case of put and patch, you are saying, I want to update something. Unless it's update all, you want to also tell that I want to update these two employee IDs. The employee ID will become input parameters. And what you want to update with, the new structure, the new values for that employee object will be part of your request. And the response structure would be again, it can be anything. All these are like optional, by the way. Everything is optional in this. You cannot say, I need to have all of this. If it's not supported, you cannot use it. If it's supported, it is optional. When I say optional, mandatory, specifically I am writing, this is usually. Right? In case of post, you may not be having most of the times the query parameters because you are creating a new record or you are creating multiple records or you are basically sending something which should be processed. When you say create, you're basically processing them somewhere. So to make it more generic, you can say processing one or multiple records also, because you are always not going to create anything. Correct? That is the reason you will be having a request payload. Response, yes, you will be having, you may not be having also. It's up to what this operation is doing. It may be sending the process like the object back, or it may be sending sometimes like whether success or failure kind of object. That's also okay. It may be sending some error details as a response if it's failing. All those things are possible in case of response. Put and patch also very similar to this. Only thing is you're updating. That is the reason you will usually take what you want to update, the primary keys here, and what is that want to update with. New object details will be available here. And then you have a response. Maybe you are going to return all the updated objects, or you may be like having again something success, fail, or whatever. That's where you put and patch. What is the next method? Delete. Very simple delete case. So in case of delete, it supports again one or multiple parameters. Request payload is not supported. Response is supported. This is used for deleting one or multiple records. If you want to delete one or multiple records, specific records, you are going to send the query parameters. If you want to delete all, you will not send anything. Okay? The operation itself, the method itself knows that you have delete everything. And response structure again can be anything. Maybe you are sending all the deleted record details or some like success failure kind of details. Okay. So now ask me if you have any questions in this one. These two are the common concepts: base URL, relative resource path. And based on the method type, the nature of the operation, what you are implementing in that service, you're going to specify, you're going to decide what kind of method you want to use. Okay.